Alice has always been a jealous person. As far as I can remember, she was jealous of me or literally anyone that was happy doing their own thing. It's weird, I know, and that's exactly what I have been telling her all my life. But of course, it's only me who has found this behavior of hers off. None of my other family members ever bat an eye at her when she acted this way. This was due to the fact that living in a household full of guys and only the two of us being girls, this was considered normal because, apparently all girls were this way. I knew this was all a bunch of BS. I could never convince myself otherwise, and that became the reason why we always had a bitter relationship. We would argue constantly, screaming at each other over the drama we would constantly be in because of her. It was a horrible situation. So much so that we were quite literally known for our explosive relationship back in high school. Things thankfully toned down when we both got into college. But now that I think about it, I feel like it was only due to the fact that we were separated from each other. Not because Alice was maturing. Unfortunately, I took her change in behavior as her maturing and her becoming a good person. So I started opening up to her and hanging out with her more. I wouldn't blame myself either though, because our relationship had genuinely got better. I mean, we were able to stay in the same room, go places together, and hear about each other's lives without absolutely blasting over each other. And for someone like me, who just wanted a decent relationship with her sister like everyone else does, this was genuinely more than enough for me. This became the reason why I even introduced her to Eric, my now fiancé and soon-to-be husband. Well, Eric and I met at a local concert, and I knew from the moment I had seen him that I wanted to be with him. This concert that we met at was a reoccurring concert. It was a local rock band that held concerts every once in a while in our city. So the next time when we went for one of the concerts, I introduced Alice to Eric, who seemed very happy for me. Things just got better from then on, because it wasn't just me who had found love. Alice, too, started showing interest in one of Eric's friends, Theodore. All four of us seemed to get along well and started spending ample time together. And the foolish me thought that I finally found one of those tight-knit friend groups who meant more to me than my family. Well, of course that was just me being somewhat delusional. Because the moment Alice found out that Eric and I got engaged, some things seemed to have changed in her. I mean, I'm really not sure what she expected from us. We had been dating for 4 years, just as she had been dating Theodore for the same. It wasn't like Eric and I never talked about marriage in front of them. The fact that the proposal was coming was very obvious, at least to me, but Alice's offense to it and her sudden possessiveness towards Eric made no sense to me. Regardless, I try to chalk it all up to her just going through some weird phase, as she says whenever she does something odd. I stayed quiet even though it started getting pretty obvious what was about to come. Only because Eric and Theodore both seemed normal, as if there's absolutely nothing wrong with her practically rubbing herself all over my fiancé. But like I said, I let it all go because I don't want to be the party pooper. It all splashed on me though, and that too just a week before the wedding. Well, it was a girls' night out, and Alice joined me along with my friends at this bar. Sue was drinking a lot there. Now, I didn't want to offend her, so I stayed quiet after giving her a few gentle warnings. Well, after a whole lot to drink, we returned to my place where Alice and my friends are planning to stay back. And Alice decides that it's the perfect moment to go all over the relationship we had built. We were at karaoke and it was Alice's turn. I was already doubtful if she would be able to sing because this woman could barely stand up on her feet. But wouldn't you all guess by now that she would take every possible opportunity to ruin a moment where I'm happy? That's exactly what she did. She got up in her drunken state and started delivering a stupid speech instead of singing. It was awkward because she started it off by talking about our explosive relationship. She then talked about us in college and how I technically stole Eric from her, who was apparently her dream man. And it was only because of me that she had to settle with Theodore. Everyone audibly gasped, and right after, Alice confessed that, as if it was nothing, she just crawled up the floor and fell asleep. The awkwardness was unbelievable, but something clicked inside of me. I saw the recording that my friend had been doing all along and told her to send it to me immediately. Now, I wasn't going to show it to anyone, but I just knew this would come in handy someday or the other, and it did. Just 4 days before the wedding, Eric and I were going through the final list of things we needed to pack to take to the wedding, and we just couldn't find a wedding ring. We turned the house upside down, and I just knew who had done it. I was panicked, angry, and upset, and in the heat of the moment, I immediately drove over to Alice's place, acting as casually as I could. I knew she didn't know what she had confessed that night, so I decided to talk to her about it first. I put it straight to her. I told her that if she didn't return the ring, I would make sure to tell Theodore everything. And I guess she thought I was simply joking, or that I wouldn't go through with it. Of course, though, I wasn't joking this time, and when she began playing the game of denial, I simply walked up to Theodore and puked out, everything along with the video evidence. The look on Theodore's face was sad, to say the least. I know this man really loved her, but I knew sometime or the other I really did have to inform him of this. Theodore and Alice got into a huge argument, and I left because I needed to give them space. Now it's been a day since it all went down, and everyone except for Theodore is against me for stirring drama before my wedding. I don't know if what I did was the right thing. Now aita. Update 1. Things have gotten out of hand way more than I thought. It feels like I have opened Pandora's box, and this is just the beginning of it all. Everyone just keeps piling up on me, as I genuinely can't understand why. It feels like everyone has normalized such behavior so much that I'm going to be reaching a point where I will have to cut off everyone. Unfortunately, Eric is one of them. My suspicions towards Eric's defensiveness, or lack of acknowledgement of this situation as a whole, have been growing a lot lately. I mean, every time I tried speaking to him, he would either try to defend Alice or tell me that he has no opinion on this situation. I mean, how could you just not have no opinion on a situation that directly concerns you? I'm sorry, I don't know about you guys, and this might make me come off as toxic, but this definitely has raised my suspicions to the max. What do you think I should do here? Is this something to be suspicious about? I decided to go through Eric's phone right as he got back from work and was in the living room gaming with his friends. And I found this app called Kick installed on his phone, which was the only app protected with a password. After a couple of tries, I was able to guess the password, and man was I right about comparing this situation to that of opening Pandora's box. I held the phone in my hand as it began shaking because the very first text was from none other than Alice. I knew I had to open it, and when I did, I went through hundreds of NSFW exchanges between the two. It was like my heart dropped. At one point, I even found a conversation about Alex begging Eric to leave me for him, and him denying her because apparently Alice was I was disgusted. I felt physically ill, but I knew I couldn't stay with this man for another passing moment. So I went with his phone and showed him the text right in front of him. His face was so worth it to see, because he looked like he had just seen a ghost. I didn't say anything, didn't do anything, just began packing my bags as Eric followed me trying to explain himself. I wasn't going to have any of it. I knew I had to leave, and I did. I'm currently at a friend's place having my phone blown up by Eric telling me all sorts of nonsense, but I know regardless of what he says or does, I'll never ever be convinced. So, I'm just planning to try to cancel all the wedding bookings and try to get everything together as fast as I can. It's been a couple of months since my last post. I had logged out of this account to get my mind off of things, and now that things seem to have gotten just a little bit on track, I think it's about time to let you guys in with what happened after I moved out of the house. Eric and I stayed in, well, firstly, needless to say, the wedding never happened, and eventually everyone found out why. Eric's family, his friends, our friends, and almost everyone dropped him. Alice, too, faced a similar outcome, with Theodore kicking her out of his house and her having to move in with my family. I have gotten a place of my own, and Theodore continues to live at his old place. We continue to hang out frequently, and that has helped me a lot to not feel lonely during such a dark time. I don't really feel anything about this situation anymore, except for how much money and energy could have been saved if Eric and Alice could have just been honest. I firmly believe that the karma they deserve has already started to get them, though, and I know with time they'll get it all. Thank you all, NTA. There's something wrong with Eric not being by your side throughout this all. I would definitely want to look into this situation more, NTA. I love how strong Ops stood and didn't let the fiancé and sister manipulate her when that would have been so easy. Keep up this attitude and you will surely go places, OP. I, 28 female, I'm a nanny for a family with 2 kids, 4 male and 2 female, in a major city. I've been their nanny for 4 years and have loved every minute of it. Both parents I nanny for are doctors. The dad has a private practice, and the mom works at a hospital. The mom that I work for has a sister, a first-grade teacher with 2 kids, 4 female and 3 male, and they were being watched by her mom, the kid's grandmother. The grandmother had bunion surgery and couldn't watch their sister's kids, so I took over for the grandma without getting paid for watching them for a few weeks. The original plan was to watch the kids until the grandma recovered from the surgery, which was going to be about a month. Yesterday, the mom I worked for told me that the grandma doesn't want to watch the sister's kids anymore, that since I had been doing fine watching all 4 kids for a few weeks, that they want to make it permanent. She told me that her sister is a single mom, doesn't have a lot of money, and doesn't have anyone else to watch her kids, so I'd be doing the family a huge favor. I asked if I was going to be getting an increase in pay. To me, watching them for 3 weeks without pay was a favor. Watching them permanently is a job. The mom told me no, since her sister doesn't have money and didn't pay the grandma to watch the kids, so they can't increase my pay. She thought it was selfish of me to ask for more pay. She said I'm at their house anyway. 2 more kids shouldn't make a difference. I told my boss no, I can't watch her sister's kids. Then I said I don't think it's fair to add 2 more children for me to watch 9 hours a day without a raise. Having a nanny is a luxury, not a right. That's why daycares are around. There are so many people that can't afford a nanny but are able to put their children in daycare. I know her sister really needs my help, but I'm not in the business to do permanent favors. I mean, I get that I was able to do it for a few weeks, I didn't complain, and honestly, it wasn't that hard. But I'm also not giving out free childcare. The government can help her with that. AITA for refusing to help even though I know I can do it and the sister needs it? I do want to add, I do get paid extremely well. I don't necessarily need the pay increase, but I also don't provide free childcare just for everyone who's been asking. I live in America, Midwest America, and childcare and healthcare are not free. You can get free subsidized childcare through the government, but you have to meet a certain criteria. Also, I don't believe the program qualifies for you to pay for a nanny. It's usually for daycare. I am unaware if the system meets the specifications to qualify for this. NTA. Being a nanny is a job, and you are basically an individual contractor. She's not your employer, she is your client. You are providing that family a service, and per your contract, written or unwritten, you are receiving an agreed-upon amount of payment for the work nannying 2 children. Adding more children to that changes the original agreement. You are well within your rights as an independent contractor to demand more money as they are asking you to do twice the work. If they can't agree upon new terms, then it sounds like your business with them should be over. People don't get to take advantage of you. Your time is worth what you deem it's worth, and nobody should ever give their time up for free unless volunteering it. NTA. I wonder if this was their plan all along, that they intended to ask her to take on the 2 extra kids for no extra pay. But they wanted to trick her into it by framing it as a temporary favor that she only does for a few weeks, only to then discover that grandma doesn't want to do it anymore after the surgery. And I wonder if OP holds firm and refuses to look after the 2 extra kids, if grandma is going to start taking care of the kids again, all the while shaming OP for making her do so. NTA. Ask one of the doctors if they would see twice the patients in their schedule for the same pay. Remind her that you did it temporarily as a favor, but she is showing you that no good deed goes unpunished, and the request is making you consider whether these are reasonable people to work for. While I was home alone, mother-in-law let herself into our home, using the code brother-in-law gave her when he fed our cat while we were on vacation. He gave it to her when he couldn't come over one day. We had no idea. I don't know if she knew we weren't supposed to be home at that time, but I ended up staying home. She and my husband planned for her to drop something off at some point in the coming days, but they didn't plan a specific time, because if no one was home, she was going to drop it off outside the door. I vaguely knew of these plans. So after she surprised me with her unexpected presence, I sort of lost my core. First, I was startled and a bit scared for a second. I always know when my husband comes home by the sound of the garage. Second, not surprisingly, she has a huge problem with boundaries that husband deals with. I raised my voice asking why she was here and how she let herself in. And then I told her she can't just do that and that we were going to change the code. She herself was stunned by my reaction, probably because I've always been super nice, and tried explaining herself. She didn't want anyone to steal the empty Tupperware she was leaving. She said she'd never let herself in before. She started tearing up, apologized, and then left. She is highly sensitive and kind of fragile. If my husband tells her he can't do yet another thing for her, she will tear up and weakly say, "Oh, so that's okay." The entire family believes it's manipulation. He's learned through therapy not to immediately see to her when she does that. She called her husband crying, told him I screamed at her, insinuated she was crazy, and made her feel very, very unwelcome. The last part is true, but the first 2 are absolutely not. But I believe if anyone raises their voice at her, she perceives that to be screaming. She kept on telling him he can't let me talk to her like that. I don't think in a sexist keep your woman in line way. I think it was more she knows I'm sensitive so she can't talk to me that way. My husband is behind me, but I can tell he's just worn out. WITAH for losing my cool in the moment when my husband wasn't there to intervene? NTA. She let herself in using a code at the door you had no idea she had been given and did not have permission to have. You had every right to be upset, and under the situation, you also had every right to make her feel unwelcome. At this point, you have no idea who else brother-in-law or mother-in-law might have given the code to. You have every right to talk to an intruder in your home in any way you wish. NTA. Sounds like mother-in-law has a history of victim behavior. What she should have done was apologize. Brother-in-law is a real dummy for letting her have the code, and I bet she knows you didn't know she had it. She could have let herself in other times and snooped, and you have no idea. Yuck. NTA. Does she not realize the adrenaline that goes with this? If my husband came home at random, I'd think it was bad news, death in the family, loss of his job, etc. Not that I have any reason to think that, but when you're thinking, gee, I'm about to get robbed, or my husband is rushing home, nothing good comes to mind. That's like fight or flight. I'd be mad at the brother-in-law for randomly giving out a code. I think it goes without saying that when you give someone a code, it's for them and them only. Do not apologize for this.